Hello, hello, friends. You know that I do not keep it surface level. And so this week I am diving in with you on my biggest failure as a founder to date and the lessons that came on the other side of it, specifically around sales. How I struggled for the entire 4 years I've been an entrepreneur and a completely different way that I'm looking at it. So, if sales is something that gives you a little bit of the cringe, I'd love for you to dive in to this week's episode with me. I will catch you inside. Welcome to the Overwhelmed and Over It podcast. I am your host, Gabs, and I am here to bring you this podcast dedicated specifically to helping founders like you build unforgettable businesses without burning yourself out. Each week, you'll hear me take conversations beyond surface level with experienced founders and entrepreneurs so that they can share their stories, strategies, and lessons learned along the way so that you have a less stressful and more successful business. Let's dive into this week's entrepreneur. All right, this week you've got me as your founder and entrepreneur, and we're going to dive deep around sales. I'm just going to tell y'all, sales was the thing that actually made me consider going back to being a full-time employee and thinking maybe being a founder wasn't for me. Also, I experienced my biggest failure in business to date because I sucked at this. It always feels a little bit awkward no matter how good you get at it. And I think there's lots of things that we hear it referenced as like, you don't want to be cringy or sleazy in sales. And so a lot of times sales is tied into this negative connotation. And then you add that where I have a background in digital product development and product management, which traditionally the product management teams don't have the greatest relationships with the sales teams. When I became an entrepreneur 4 years ago, I definitely started to have blocks in my ability to enjoy sales and feel okay with it being a part of being an entrepreneur. That statement right there is something that we have to accept. Like it, hate it, love it, dislike it. Sales is a part of being an entrepreneur or a founder. You cannot get away from that. Now, you can outsource it. You can hire someone to do it for you. You can build your personal brand to where it is actually a massive part of your sales process. And that is really where I have gotten to so that I can find a way to make sales work well for me. But I just want to share with you guys the actual story that happened over the summer that made me feel very differently about sales. And I'm sharing this because this is what I would say is my utter and complete biggest failure in business. But y'all know how I feel about failures. It also means it was my utter and biggest lesson in business. And so I feel that it is my duty to share that with you all so that way you can learn from it and just check in with yourself if you are a founder. How are you feeling about sales in your business? And anytime sales conversations start happening. So I want to rewind you guys back to early part of summer. My husband and I have this running joke. It even just came up last night. He can tell the nights that I'm going to actually be able to fall asleep. And then he can tell the nights where my visionary brain is lit up and it is ready to roll. So it was early June, and I was having one of those nights where my visionary brain lit up and was ready to roll, and bedtime was nowhere in sight. I was planning in-person events in my business. I hosted several of the confidence pop-ups over the summer. And as I was starting to plan them, I had this genius idea come to mind. I have always said that I want to actually grow and expand my business by acquisition and acquiring other businesses. And so as I was planning my in-person events, I had this thing come to mind. What if I bought profitable event spaces in the 3 or 4 locations that I would want to be hosting events in throughout the year? So off to Biz Buy Sell I went and started looking for a business that met that deal box. And lo and behold, there was actually a longtime acquaintance of mine who was selling a business that checked all of those boxes. Immediately, I was like, okay, this is it. The universe put this right in front of me, and I should absolutely go buy this business. And quite frankly, the acquisition process was going really well and it was running really smoothly. And I got a little cocky. Like I thought this was a done deal. Now, anyone who has been through mergers and acquisitions, you know just how messy and wild they can be. So we get to literally the week of the finish line. Contracts are signed, everything's ready to go. We are just finalizing handoff and the lease of the location. When there was a big bomb dropped on me that the landlord decided they don't want that business in that building anymore. So they did not want to renew the lease with me as a new tenant. And so that obviously means that the business is null and void at that point. And so the contract didn't go through. And there have been a lot of tears shed about this situation. There have been a lot of journal entries in my notebook to kind of process through that. But here's the thing. That business was very successful by every stretch of the imagination. When you looked at revenue, when you looked at customers, when you looked at long-term repeat customers, when you looked at public opinion of the business, it was successful by all of the regular ways that we would say a business is successful. Except one thing. The owner of the business was completely overwhelmed. The idea of running the business at the size that it had grown to was far too scary. It's really sad when I think about that. And when I say some of those journal entries and some of those tears that have been shed, they were on my own failures. Because I have known the owner of this business for years. And it broke my heart to know that they didn't know someone like me existed, whether it was me or another business support person who can come in and help be strategic in executing plans for the business. That breaks my heart because this business was loved by the community. When they announced the going out of business, I mean, just the love and support that came pouring in was crazy to me. You know, as a founder who's been trying to build something from the ground up, that's what we desire. That's what we dream of, is for people to actually love our business so much that we feel like we're a part of their community. And that's what this business had. But not only that, there would be the 11 employees who still had jobs. There would be the owner who could still be enjoying all of the hard work and love and blood, sweat, and tears that was put into growing this business. And the community would still have a community space to come together to escape reality and to make memories. This was the biggest lesson for me. I've been too quiet about my own superpowers. And so I want you to think about that as a founder. Is it really sales that you're scared of? Or is it that you're afraid of being loud and vocal around the problems you solve? Around your own superpowers, which is why you founded the business you found. Because you saw a problem, likely something you or someone close to you that you love dearly experienced, and you wanted to go solve that problem. Are you afraid of being loud about that? Is it because you aren't proud of yourself? Or you're scared of what other people will think about it? Or do you even not see yourself as having superpowers? Because I just hosted another confidence pop-up just yesterday with about 20 women from a local university here in Arizona. And when we put together their personal brand statements, do you know what they struggled with of all the parts of the personal brand statement? The superpower. So I want you to stop and think about that for a second. What if your sales was just telling the world what your superpower is? And what if not sharing your superpower with the world actually made us selfish? Because when I look back at this situation for my first failed acquisition, I realize it was because I wasn't vocal enough about my superpower. Someone in my immediate network who I could have helped could have turned this around and I didn't, because I was afraid to be loud about my superpowers. Today, I want you to spend some time with yourself and your business. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, it doesn't need to be a lot. But if you're listening to this podcast episode today, I want you to sit down and I want you to forget sales for a minute. But I want you to think about that one customer who you saved from themselves, from their challenges, from their problems, from their fears. That one customer, we all have one, that your heart gets warm and fuzzy and you just think so positively about when you think about your time with them. I want you to know there's more of them out there who don't know you exist just yet. And it's probably because you're holding back from your own superpowers. How can you tell the world what is your superpower today? How can you tell the world the problems that you solve and what makes you so uniquely special to do that? And then I want you to go do it. And if you're feeling really bold, if you're on LinkedIn or Instagram, tag me at Gabs Hayes, because I want to cheer you on for being bold and I want to celebrate with the world so that way more people know about your superpowers. Thank you for tuning into this week's episode of the Overwhelmed and Over It podcast. This is the place where we have real life conversations around being a founder so that way we can talk about our failures and our lessons and we can all learn from each other. It is truly my life's mission to help other small business founders change the way they and their customers experience their business. And to do that, I love to meet with other founders. If you've got some things that just don't feel quite right in the way you are enjoying or your customers are experiencing your business, let's have a coffee chat. I would absolutely love to meet you and meet your business. Grab time with me at the link in the show notes. Talk to you soon. Hope you have a wonderful week. Love you big. Gabs.